My name is Never Lewis, and I live here at 3601 Silver Ridge Court, and I've been there for 22 years. I have been here. My question, I'm going back to this sewage, and I have a question. The reason for the sewage being added to our tax is because of the vacant houses. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's because when we have vacant rentals, no rent is being collected on the, therefore, no sewage is being paid for those houses. So the only way that you can collect the money for the sewage is by placing it on the property tax. That's the way that I'm understanding it. Am I understanding it correct?
Yes, you are.
Okay. My question is, when those houses are going to eventually be rented, when they are rented, if they were vacant for 3 months, when it is rented, the first thing that people want is their water on. Could it have been possible that you could have said, note going out to these people, a letter, saying that prior to your rental, all of the back sewage bills for those 3 months, you need to pay that before the water will be turned back on in those houses? Could we have done that? Then that way, those property owners would have been responsible for paying their sewage bill, catching it up, rather than punishing the entire community of Rosamond for something that I'll say 50 people didn't do. Could we have done that? That's my question. And the other thing that I have is being up here for 22 years. I was up here for 18, I think it was, before I really knew anybody. And then I joined the Rosamond Walkers, which was a part of the community, and it was being sponsored by RCSD, Rosamond Community. I'm asking today, we still have the name, but I know of nothing that the Rosamond Community, carrying that community in there. What are you doing for the community? Anything at all. These things, it disturbed me for the very simple reason. The 5 of you are supposed to represent the community. Are you seeking out what the community wants, or are you doing what you want in conjunction with Steve? Now, I've talked to Steve. I have come up, we've had a meeting, and we have talked. But I'm asking you, for the very simple reason, I think we look to you, because you are elected officials. Steve is a hired employee, and if I'm correct, I think he's an at-will employee, unless he's on contract. So, but the 5 of you, I don't look to Steve because he's doing his job. But you are the people that's responsible for Rosamond. That's my comment. Question I would like for you to ask yourself, are you doing what you're supposed to do for the community?
I am still having a problem with the dollar on my water bill since I live in a Beezer Homes and the lighting was put on our property taxes. And I was told
Step back.
by
Too close.
the county tax assessor's office that you cannot be taxed twice for the same thing. And I think you told me at the last meeting that we should not be paying $1. And as far as the lighting is concerned in Rosamond, it's poor. You said the $1 is for Rosamond Boulevard? Well, what does Rosamond Boulevard have? The lights are cut off when you go far west. So I guess we're only paying for a portion, but my question is, why am I being charged $1 when I'm paying $53.10 already on my property tax bill? Because you told me I shouldn't be paying it. Something's wrong with this.
No, you're too close.
Huh?
Darlene.
Hello, everybody. That's my question.
Hi, my name is Gordy. I've been kind of interested about this purple piping. We're paying an awful lot of money for a sewer treatment plant that does nothing. And we've got purple piping going probably in one place that I know. I don't have it in my neighborhood. When do you guys think that this is going to get done, or to be brown water or gray water brought into the system?
Well, I can address that question. That's the million-dollar question, and we're waiting on the state to give us the final go-ahead to do it. The plant is ready. It's up and running. It's generating recycled water as we speak. The problem is that it's in the permitting process, and we're at the mercy of the state. We're waiting for them now. We do have purple pipe run in several areas in this community.
It's not over in my neighborhood. I've lived there for almost 30 years. You guys never tore the streets up once and stuck any in there. So basically my gripe is, I'm paying a hell of a lot of money for a plant that produces gray water, and the only way I'm going to get my hands on is if I go over the bucket with your plant and haul it home.
One thing that, as far as the gray water goes, it's not going to be piped to residential homes to irrigate lawns. It's going to be piped to park sites, green belts, school sites. That's where we're going to use the water. And the whole idea as a community is that if you could take the currently using drinking water to keep Lindauer Park green, United Street Park green, those areas there, if we can shut that drinking water off and use recycled water to keep those same areas green, that's going to conserve water, that's going to benefit you and everybody else in this community.
Well, I understand that, but it sure isn't going to be a lot from my water bill now, is it?
They're hoping to send it to the mine too, and that will give them some revenue coming back in.
Well, you know, I would hope so too, because quite frankly, we're paying a hell of a lot in this little community for sewer and water. A lot.
Right.
You know, I would hope that you people, because you seem intelligent enough, get this mess straightened out. So far, all I'm doing is seeing an illegal tax put on my bill, because I know that damn well you can't raise it more than 2% a year, and that's damn sure more than I'm paying now. Matter of fact, I'll give you guys notice now. Something don't change, I'm not going to pay it. Have a
So
good
can I
day.
ask you a quick question before you leave? Sir, you just said the illegal tax. What's the illegal? Because I want for clarification, so I know what I need to work on. What's the illegal tax?
Jarvis law, Proposition 13 says you can only raise my property tax at 2% per year. $477.60 is a hell of a lot more than 2%.
That's not your,
Sir,
That's not your tax.
tax.
That's not your tax.
Sewer fee, that's not tax.
Okay, correct or not, I'm still
No,
not.
sir, the reason I asked the question, so when the question, the challenge comes up, I can address it properly. So you're saying that that's more than your tax, that the tax bill would allow?
Yes, it is. It's, you guys have increased my taxes by almost let's see, 15, by a quarter.
Okay, is that the only tax, that's the only number that increase in your tax bill, sir? I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
it sure has. And so that's a pretty sneaky way of getting your money paid through.
Okay, sir, I just need to know so I can have some clarification research.
Yeah, I know. I'm not really thrilled with what's going on in this little town. This is, I've lived there a long time. I loved it when I moved here. Now I'm thinking about moving away. I really hate this place. Have a good evening.
The other question that I have is, when a house is vacant, you lose your, Edison turns off the electricity. When your house is vacant, Southern California turn off their gas. When your house is vacant, RCSD turns off the water. Now, the wires from Edison is still going to your house. They don't cut them off. You don't come out and cut them. The gas company, you don't get a bill. So why is it the sewage, nobody is flushing a commode there because no water? Why do you, I understand what you said, but some of this stuff, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. And I am trying with everything that I know how in order to understand everything. But I don't understand how some you charge, others you don't charge because you're not in charge of Edison or the gas bill. But you still have to pay sewage per month, even if it's not being used. I don't understand that.
Okay. And at this time, we're going to jump forward in the agenda, and we're going to go to item 6. We will get back to everything else on the agenda, but discussion and action to approve the RCSD 5-year strategic plan, and I'll turn this over to Mr. Ives.
Yes, Mr. President, we've filed the final draft with the expert assistance of BHI Consulting, and this evening we have a final draft to present to you. What will happen is if there are any corrections, additions, or omissions, we'll make those corrections, and hopefully at the end of the process we can adopt the strategic plan as amended or as it is now. So with that, I'll turn to Brent Ives.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My firm has been able to work with you and your staff to move this process along, and we really appreciate the opportunity. Tonight, what we're going to look at, and I don't know exactly how you look at PowerPoint, but you're going to need to see behind you. So if you choose, you do have it in front of you.
Yes,
excellent. Okay, I did not notice that you had monitors up there. Thank you for that. We're going to go through. We're not going to go through every page. It was on in your packet, and hopefully you've had a chance to read through it. But what we're going to look at is the elements of it. The process that we went through was to be able to get as much input as we could. We had a public meeting, and some of you were there. I met with your employees, and they provided input. Met with each of you individually, and then I met with with you as in a workshop format, and trying to get enough input to be able to lead the board through looking at your mission, creating a vision statement with a number of different elements to that, and then after the vision statement of the board, when the board is creating a vision out into the future to deal with some of the very things you brought up this evening, then the idea was for staff to go away and say, well, if this is where you want to go in a vision, then these are the kinds of things it'll take to get you there in an implementation plan. It's relatively easy to understand. So the implementation that's before you, that's written into your draft this evening, is based on the board's vision and guidance from the board. You'll get a chance this evening to look at your mission and vision again. We'll take your input on this strategy, and then we'll seek your approval if indeed that's what you'd like to do this evening. As I said, we did the input in August, received the input, did that board workshop, met with staff a number of times to prepare this draft, and then prepared for this evening. So the mission statement from the board workshop was boiled, kicked around a number of times, looked at a number of times, But this is what you all are saying as a community services district is your mission, and that's why you exist as an organization. Why is it that you exist as an organization? So I'll just read it, and you again, board, this is open to you. Even tonight, you can say, I'm not so sure I like the wording, or you can change things up. We enhance the quality of life in the community by providing the essential services of safe drinking water, treatment, and disposal of sewage and other funded services in an environmentally effective and fiscally responsible manner. This, of course, says a lot of, as your logo does. There are a few other things, and you can see there in your logo, there's water, sewer, street lighting, graffiti abatement, and parks and recreation. Now, I know we had plenty of discussion on this, but certainly the essential services of safe drinking water and then the treatment and disposal of sewage are those core elements of what you do. And then other funded services to the degree that you can, like lighting and graffiti abatement of parks and recreation, which are harder to at times fund. And so those were referred to in that other term. But that's your mission statement that you would be adopting as you adopt the strategic plan. Again, the idea is that that kind of outlines the purpose of the organization. Next is your vision statement. I know this is a little smaller, and these get a little smaller, and we have trouble reading them. We may have to, I'm going to read most everything that's up there anyway, but I want to make sure that you can see it as you can. But the idea was to get the board to project themselves out 5 years and what are the kinds of things you'd like to be able to say that the district's accomplished in those 5 years, in these next 5 years. And so the answer to that was that we are beneficially recycling our wastewater, meaning that it's got uses, it's out there, it's creating the benefit that it was originally intended for. And so remember, each one of these vision statements, the idea of the whole of the implementation that staff has put together in the body of the document is aimed at being able, at the board to be able to say these things in 5 years, that we are beneficially using our recycled water, that we have crafted water acquisitions and additional sources and storage, that we have identified sustainable funding for parks and recreation, that we have provided water and wastewater capacity for growth, that we've improved our public image with an enhanced public relations program, that we have an active succession plan in place for our workforce, that we have a well-devised rate process, and that we have employed a viable chromium-6 and arsenic strategy. And board, you know each one of these issues. You've dealt with them, you've seen them, you can see them coming, you understand what they are. And so as you look out in the future, in the year 2019, the idea of a strategic plan is, would you feel like you really serve the community well by being able to say these things? And that's the intention of your vision statements. And, sure, yes.
Just to interject on the 800 over 5 years, just for clarification, maybe a single-family resident or homes.
Yeah, it was. And
stick there.
that was the planning assumption.
Yeah, I know, but you know, I would just like to see that a little bit.
Sure. Okay, we can clarify that.
It improves the understanding of what we need to have.
Right. So, in growth, of course, can come in many fashions, but at least initially in terms of hookups and so forth. So we took that input, which was the major deliverable from the board workshop of vision, and we set that to action in 6 strategic elements. In other words, 6 different areas of work that the district does. And then we put to that 29 different strategic actions that would be set into action over the next 5 years to meet your vision. So the idea then, board, is that you can say to your manager, your manager saying to you, if we do these things, then there's a high likelihood of being able to say what your vision was, to be able to realize that vision. And so your manager is basically saying that to you. and subsequently you can also then hold your manager accountable for those things. And so it's a here's our plan, let's stay with our plan. If we stay with our plan, then our vision will be a success. That's the idea. But you've got to work together to be able to make that happen. Monitor your vision, make sure your vision stays current and relevant. The manager then doing the strategic actions necessary to make those successful. So, stepping through your plan, we'll look at each strategic element together. We'll look at the objective and strategy statement that was created by staff on each of the 6 elements. Then we'll look at the supportive actions that are associated with each. And then, if necessary, staff will add technical details on specific actions should you have questions on those. So here are your 6 strategic elements. So these are areas of work that are going to be necessary to support your vision. Water and wastewater systems, public relations, personnel and organization, strategic partners, administration, and finances. So in the first one, the objective and strategy statement that the staff was working by is this. Our objective is to continue our commitment to district water system assets, to keep services effective and within compliance, to meet existing and future needs. We'll do this by maintaining, repairing, replacing our infrastructure and facilities and equipment in a proactive and timely manner while undertaking studies for the future. And so this is the basic generalized strategy that staff applied to the actions necessary to look and be proactive about water and wastewater systems. And back in the back of your document, as you look at, you saw that there was a table. I'm sorry this is so small, but I'll read many of these so you can see them. But there is the idea of this table is that there are 7 different actions over on the left side. There is a little bit of detail in the middle column, and then there's a date associated with each of those actions over on the right-hand side. So the first one was an infrastructure master plan, and that is to develop master plans so that you know which infrastructure pieces to work on. Then there's the plan for chromium-6 and arsenic, locate and develop new water sources that would be necessary to achieve that, and you can see the dates associated with that. Then complete recycled water master plan, which is 1.3. That's in 2015, so you can see again the dates associated with that, and that's where you can. Your manager is telling you this is the right plan. This is the plan necessary for you to be proactive, so you can work out those dates with your manager, and he can keep you up to date on how those plans are going. Then there's capacities or integrate water banking into existing systems, develop maximum quantity of recycled water to reduce dependency on recycled water.
I just might add that those dates on the side, they could be, they'll be adjustable as things occur.
Right.
They may shift down. We may have to push them out, but certainly within the 5-year strategic plan, we'll be dealing with them within that context. But they can move.
The idea of the strategic plan is that every year, generally in January or February, the board would caucus with their staff and the community and take a look at their strategic plan. It'll maybe not this year because we're so close to that date, but a year from February is a good time to say how realistic were our projections. Are there other things that might be necessary that we didn't anticipate? Are there things that we got completed and can come off? And so this is a good management tool in each of the 6 areas to be able to keep you on the same path, the board, the community, and staff working again toward those vision pieces. That left us at 1.5, which is an asset management and data collection system, and this is just the efficient use of the assets that you have, and it allows for proper budgeting and system operation and replacement of assets in a planned way. And so it's a very efficient way for agencies to manage their utility. Then water meter program, in 5 years you'd like to complete the installation of the automated meter read system, and so that's In fact, the date there is on 2017, so it's really like 3 years away to be able to complete that system. And then number 7 is water system and water bank integration. And that's the connecting the water bank with and new well into the existing system. And again, in the body of your document, each one of these 1.1 through 1.7 has a paragraph or two about outlining the detail of what's going to be done and accomplished and why this is important. You all have, if you all agree here, you've got staff and we've gotten input, and if the board agrees that this is a good water, wastewater strategy, if we can say these things in the next 5 years are completed, have we really done what we need to do to be able to support the current and future sources and systems and infrastructure? So are there any comments on this section, board?
I was looking for the dollar signs next to all of these projects. Some of these will be quite costly, and that's why the time frames are out there.
Exactly right, and that's the idea of a 5-year plan instead of trying to talk about a 1 or 2 year plan, because then you almost immediately need to come up with the money or have some drastic kind of, and that's not what this is about. This is about what's necessary to do, and then let's give ourselves the time to be able to put it together in an efficient way so that we don't overburden either the infrastructure, the water sources, or the community in terms of how we're going to pay for it. You've got to ask yourself, though, you've got to convince yourself that these things are necessary and prudent in terms of just being able to accomplish your essential services. Steve?
Yeah, under 1.6 within that, in relationship to the water meter program, I'd like to change the last date or last word in that paragraph to read 2017 for consistency with the estimated completion date.
I got it. Yep, you're right. So that's in the body of the document.
Correct.
Okay.
Brent, may I ask you a question?
Yes, please do.
When we had the community meeting about this, what's the one point or points they put the greatest emphasis on? Do you have one in particular?
Well, there was the concern about how things are getting paid for, and quite frankly, it seemed to me, from the outsider looking in, is that communication seemed to be lacking. There needs to be better communication between this body, that staff, and this community.
Hello.
And I think that's, I do this a lot for a lot of agencies up and down the state, and I can tell you that's really, it gets to that point, and then you realize it, you wake up, you do things differently, and things get better. I think you get through this election, get that beyond you like every other community in the state right now, and then work on some of the things. We're going to talk about some community involvement things, community engagement things, and I think, ma'am, you brought up one of them, and I think that the district's really open to that, but you have to have a forum and a venue for good communication, understanding one another, understanding what they're going through, understanding what you all need, and trying to keep that together. It's really an ongoing task. It really is. Through the chair. We've got a hand up there, Mr. Chair.
You know, to keep things moving along, please keep your questions. We will get to them. But we'd like to let Brent get through his presentation, and then we'll go ahead and we'll take questions after he's finished his presentation.
Okay, first of all, we didn't start.
Can we please hold the questions until he's done with his
But he
presentation?
didn't say what company he was from.
Well, BHI Management Consulting. It's my own consulting firm now.
And who summoned you?
Who summoned me?
Yeah.
I have a contract with the district to help them with their strategic plan. And sir, hold on to that question. Thank you. So we'll go through the 6 elements. The next one is public relations, and so that gets to that point of how we're going to improve, because our objective is to provide timely, relevant, factual information to all constituents of Rosamond. We'll do this by carefully considering how to best engage and connect with our community. And that's the statement that staff said, we've got to do this well. And everybody, individually, you all told me this, the employees told me this, the community mentioned this in our community meetings, that this is really important that we communicate better. And so this is the element where that should occur. And there are three things that are going to be proposed in that, and that's participation in events in the community. So that's increased participation in community events, and then a public relations program. So increasing transparency to our customers through various media, direct mail, print, website, and various means in media is what is written up, really. And then part of that was establish a training program for staff and the board to include social media, media relations, and crisis communications. So, board, any comments on this particular piece?
In the explanation in the, on the third line down, in the middle, that word direct, if we could bring it down one line so you can read it all. I got it.
This one right here?
Yeah, I've got it cramped in.
Yes. Thank you. If you'll just...
I'll note it, and
Thank you.
I'll make the notes and I'll...
Yeah, we'll clean that up. I apologize for that. Okay, number 3 was the personnel and organization. I mean, the place doesn't run itself. This is a huge part of the expense of what any public agency does is in their employee base. And so it's really important that 5 years from now, you're as efficient in your management of the personnel asset as you are today. The objective is to maintain an educated, motivated, skilled workforce. Our strategy is to offer competitive wages and benefits, promote a safe work environment, provide opportunities for training and advancement, and to implement best management practices. So that's the intent of staff as they were putting together this implementation plan. And there are 6 supportive elements there. Employee communications, make sure that management and staff are communicating well and to promote that healthy and productive work environment. Succession planning to avoid staffing gaps and ensure appropriate depth of knowledge or any specific critical information locked up in any particular one person, which can happen a lot with these kind of agencies. And then a safety program, which is an ongoing thing. Training and development, which is provide high-level training for our staff. Remember, the more efficient your staff are with the work that they do, the better bang you get for the public's buck, is the way it works. And so taking care of good care and feeding of your employee base is really important. That's what that element is right there. Customer service is empower your staff to address and correct issues for customers and adopt management practices to provide optimal service. And this is a methodology of being able to allow many times those staff members that address the public directly, whether they're out in the community or they're here at the desk, to know what kinds of authorities and lines of authority they have to be able to serve the customers best. And then the health and wellness program is to decrease absenteeism and reduce injuries and so forth. Any questions on this element? Board? Okay, moving on. Number 4 is our strategic partners. Objective is to establish collaborative relationship with strategic partners, regulators, and legislators to the benefit of the district. We'll do this by partnering with other agencies, establishing honest relations with our regulators and key legislators, and participating in industry associations to assist with helpful movement of a beneficial agenda. And this is all, especially in the water world, this is hugely important because sources and water rights and during a drought, the kinds of things that are necessary to be able to connect in with the right kind of resources is hugely important. And so strategic partners are very important to you here. There are 3 general strategic initiatives there, and that is to establish interagency and local regional stakeholder relations to advance the common objective. That's basically you all, in a planned way, and to interact with those those local and regional stakeholders. Then water-specific partners is collaborating with those water partners that you have now for common, to participate in common initiatives and so forth, and projects, and remain responsive to those needs, because it's a partnership, and that has to be remembered. And then look for additional strategic partners by partnering that are beneficial in stated objectives to the district. What are some potential additional partners that might be out there that might be used, that the association might be mutually beneficial? So it's an ongoing process, creating strong relationship with strategic partners to benefit the district. And that includes staff to the most part, but it includes the board oftentimes as well. Any questions about that, board? Number 5 is the administration. Remember, it's the efficiency of the governance and how we do business here is hugely important, because this is the public's business and we need to do it well. And so that means that you have administration locked down, you know what you're doing, and you're doing it as efficient as possible. So an objective is to ensure efficient governance, transparency, and sound management of the district. Accomplish this by proactively managing organizational knowledge, being responsive, consistent, and accountable to our public through effective self-assessment, policies and procedures to address new requirements and needs of the district. And to support that, there are 3 supportive actions or initiatives, and it's about managing your policies and procedures on an ongoing basis. Ensure that every 2 or 3 years, all of your district policies and procedures are reviewed and are relevant and are useful. And then also the development of annual review of the board policies and procedures by the policy committee. So that's a commitment that we have board policies and procedures that guide and direct how the board does its business. And then board development. Develop an orientation for new board members, enroll them in special district governance education, and provide them with the opportunity for further training to be as good as they can be in accomplishing their role as board members. So there's a commitment there for you as well, board, which many of you do, I know. I see you at different functions and different trainings to try to look at your job in a broad way, and I think that's very laudable. Our objective is to ensure financial stability and accountability through prudent fiscal management and responsible stewardship. We'll strive to maintain high standards that allow delivery of services and programs in a cost-effective manner, utilizing available resources that maximize the value of our employees and customers. To our employees and customers. Sorry about that. And there are 7 supportive actions there. Budget development and communication. Produce a properly designed budget that provides a benchmark for financial performance. And that's planned for this next year. Internal control environment. Strengthen and develop increased internal controls. 6.3 is policy design. Assure prudent fiscal policies in compliance with all local, state, and federal regulations and laws. And that's ongoing. You are in compliance now if you just need to keep up with that. And then implementation of operating reserve policy. Establish a cash reserve policy protecting the district against unexpected costs and temporary cash shortages. 6.5 is something you do now anyway, but it's important to mention that your annual audit, so continue those independent financial audits. Then an infrastructure replacement maintenance fund, develop an infrastructure replacement, develop that fund. And so that would be another, basically that is the board committing to infrastructure replacement and maintenance. And then number 6.7 is provide good financial reporting and be proactive to a changing financial environment. And there's a lot always going on in the financial world and how money comes and goes and how it's managed. And it's important to assure the community that their money is being managed well here. So those are all the 29 different actions that are proposed for you in those 6 different strategic element areas. And so now it's time for us to get your input. I did ask at each step, but certainly if you've got other input, now's the time. If you'd like to take public input, Mr. Chair, it's certainly up to you, and we'd be glad to take it.
Okay, at this time, why don't we go ahead to take public input, and I'll start with you, Mr. Scott. You have a question?
Yeah, on the chart describing strategic element number 1, I don't know if it was a typo or something I didn't quite understand.
Let me go back to it so we can. It doesn't take, but
I was just kind of curious.
There could have been a typo in here. I'm not about that.
Okay, under 1.4, in the center it says develop maximum quantity of recycled water to reduce dependency on recycled water. Is it a dependency on potable water?
Potable water. That's a good catch, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure I understood.
Sometimes you get so close to it, you use the same name too many times. Thank you very much.
With all this training and all this really nice stuff coming up in the near future, how the taxpayers going to pay for all this and ratepayers? We're taxed and rated now to the point of almost bankruptcy. We're going to keep raising our bills?
Yeah.
This is already in the budget. It's been in there for years, and it's a line item that's in there for paying for development of plans such as this, consulting with the consulting firms such as Mr. Ives' firm, and to develop these plans for the betterment of the community. So this isn't something by having these things in here that we're going to be raising your rates to pay for it. It's already in the budget.
So this is something that we have no control over just because we're paying for it. We didn't get to vote on it. This discussion is nice. I think it's grandiose. But you know what? It's getting a little expensive living here.
Well, there's no plan to raise your rates, right?
Well, we've heard that in the past.
We're still trying to digest a $10 million water plant.
Not right now.
Keep
Sometime in
searching.
the future, rates will go up.
I'm not talking about right
But I don't think it's proper to comment to say you'll never raise the rates. I think it's false.
I didn't say that.
One of the parts, sir, about the training you're talking about, one of the things that we've been able to do with some of the, and it's covered some parts of the strategic plan, some of the training that we've done in-house here, it's allowed us to save money on some of the things. I don't know the exact dollar amounts, but one of the things that we do, and a lot of times people talk about it, you talk sometimes like we're third party, like we're not involved here. I live in the same community, and I ask them the same question, and thank you for presenting the questions to us, because one of the questions comes up. I sit in the finance committee, and we always ask, how's this getting funded? And one of the things we've been able to do in the last about 2 years or so, we've been being rebated back on a lot of our insurances because of our safety records we've had here at the district. So in one sense, we are saving money. Greg mentioned we are also budgeting for this here, but we are not saying to do all this, we're going to go up on numbers. A lot of the numbers we already have established. We had a budget workshop and we talked about where some of the dollars were at, and some people added input to them, but when I discuss things, I'm not discussing to spend our money, we're discussing, that's why we have a strategic plan. One of the problems that when I came to the board, we had, sir, we wanted to get there, but we didn't know how to get there. This is going to hopefully help us get there a little bit sooner, a little bit more efficiently. Go ahead, sir.
You mentioned that you already have the budget for all this, right? Is that correct?
We have a budget.
You have a budget. Okay, so last week we were talking about why our sewer charges went to taxes, and the reason was because not all the houses were paying for the sewer, and then you have to increase our bill because that. So how is it that you guys have the budget already for that, but we were being increased our amount of, increase the bill amount for our sewer because other houses weren't paying? So how that works? I don't get it. If you have budget for this, how come we were paying more money for someone else's houses? Because that was the explanation from last week, last meeting.
I'll try to answer that, but I'll answer the first question from the gentleman back in the back. The revenues that we have right now allow us to start looking at how to maintain a system. The system is not just receiving or giving you water and taking your sewage away. It's pipes, it's motors, it's equipment, it's people, it's all of these things. The revenues that you're paying today allow us to budget and to look forward at how we're going to accomplish these tasks with the money we're given. That's what this is doing. It's setting a roadmap for our direction. As far as additional things, and it very well could be in here, that some of the cost will exceed what we're making today. But before any of that happens, and you wrongly stated you didn't have a say-so, before any rates are increased, you will have a say-so, and you will have to have an explanation as to why we're raising rates. We're not raising rates. We don't have any plans immediately to raise rates. We are trying to do the best we can with the revenues that you're giving us right now. We're trying to be efficient and trying to maximize the revenue that you're giving. To your question, ma'am, as far as the revenues that we bring in the sewer issue, it wasn't that we want to charge other people, raise their rates because of revenues we're losing. That would have been an option, but the board said that is not an option. They don't want you to have to pay for somebody else that is not paying their fair share. In order to achieve that, we looked at the sewer rate in the best way possible to recover the revenues we're losing. Because if we didn't recover those revenues, then we would have had to been, like this gentleman said, coming back and raising rates prematurely. So part of the efficiencies that we use is to maximize the revenues that we're supposed to have in spending, in collection, and in putting towards our future, not what we just want to, but what we are required by law to maintain. The law, this is public health and safety that this board is dealing with, and we are required to do certain things by law in order to keep it functioning properly. So, the least impact on you, the ratepayer, and to prevent from prematurely increasing rates. That's why we went to that issue. But most of what we're looking at right now, we're anticipating to work on within the confines of what you're giving us to work with today. Should that not be enough, or we have some catastrophic thing that occurs, hopefully we can address it with the prudent reserves that we have, or at the very least, we would have to come back to you and tell you why we would have to have a rate increase. So we don't want to raise rates any sooner than we have to, and you do, every time a rate is increased, have a voice in that and a vote.
Is it done in the board meeting here where we vote on it? Is that what you're saying? Is the vote taken here?
We have, in rate increases, you have what's known as Prop 218 that governs the way that we have to go about doing a rate increase. We have to have a public hearing, a protest hearing, to take your comments and give you information. And hopefully before any of that would ever happen, we will be putting information out to you in correspondence that explains what's going on.
And Mr. Chair, if I might, the idea of a strategic plan is to organize the future work. And quite frankly, from your standpoint, there are so many agencies out there that, quite frankly, don't apparently organize their work so that you can see it. The idea of this plan is to show you the kinds of things they're going to be working on over the next 5 years. And it's right. There are no plans to immediately raise. There are no plans right now on the books to raise rates at all. Trying to work within their means. They're trying to do it as efficiently as possible. And quite frankly, it's more efficient to have a plan than to not have a plan. The good news, at least is the way I see it, is that you can see now. And this, Mr. Chair, I'll tell you what's going to happen is if you approve this, we'll take it, clean it up per your inputs tonight, and then we'll bind it, and there'll be copies out in the lobby, and you can see it, and you can monitor it along with your board, and the board can monitor it. You can change it together, or you can look at it together as a community, and use it as the roadmap to kind of chart the future. That's a better way of doing it than having all these discrete projects out there, and you don't know what the timeline is on them. And at least you can see it in one place. That's one of the real benefits of a strategic plan.
This mission and vision that you have, did we have a mission and vision statement before this?
Didn't have a mission statement. They just tweaked it a little bit during their board workshop. They didn't have a vision statement. This vision statement really drives some of the actions that are in here. So, Mr. Chair, what's before you is to approve this as cleaned up, and then it will be published. Again, it'll be on the, I think, is it correct to say it'll be on the website?
Absolutely.
So there'll be hard copies it'll be a bound document for you to have, for the public to have, and again, that way the whole community can manage this together into the future.
Any comments from the board or questions?
Well, I'd like to say, job well done, thank you very much. I would just like to add a footnote. The RCSD is an agency that's going to be here as long as houses are here, as long as water and sewer is needed. So when we're looking at a vision mission statement, it's for 5 years, yes. But we're also looking at 40 years, 100 years. We're going to be here long after all of us are dust. So we have to be very, very careful in how we move forward. And so I've always been a strong advocate of a vision mission statements so that you have a kind of a, you're going in a certain direction. We had and used the vision and mission statement, that concept, when we considered purchasing the water bank. And at the time there was water, and yet we knew that there would be a need in some time in the future for banked water that we purchased from the north, put in the ground, and reserved for the public. And we took that leap of faith and bought into the water bank. And it's one of the most valuable things we have right now with a year and a half worth of water supply for our people. Some of these things you have to be much more visionary than month-to-month bills, and which are a concern. But we have to look to make sure that we're sound, that we comply with all the state, local, probably Brent on 6.3 under finances, I put those in bold, that we comply with all local, state, and federal regulations and laws, no matter how costly they are to us. We have to, no matter how costly they are to our regulators. So, again, Brent, job well done. I appreciate it. It's going to be a good assistance to us.
Thank you. Brent, the one comment I will give you, thank you very much for preparing with us. We all work on it. But I think the important part is that from the community standpoint, when it's completed, you have the same document that the district has, that the directors have, and then it becomes an accountability tool for everyone. We keep hearing we don't know, well, everyone will have a copy, will have access to it, and we can track it. From a director standpoint, we can ensure that the GM is on task, we can ensure that his employees, so it gives everybody the same information at the same time. Now, the only thing is kind of, I look at some of these dates on there, with a lot of dynamics, a chromium issue coming up, and with the water drops, all those, those are kind of moving targets there, but, we have to start someplace. So, thank you very much for taking the time to kind of prepare us for it, but ultimately, I think what the community needs to be aware of, as you look at this here, look at that chromium issue. And that chromium issue is over our heads now, and we don't know what the drop's going to be moving forward. But I think I would encourage everybody, if you didn't get a copy, get the preliminary copies, but the hard copies, and keep it so when whoever your board member is, a lot of people are real good about saying, well, this is not being done. You have the working orders of the district for the next minimum of 5 years, and then you can come hold us accountable for it, because at the end of the day, all of us have a say-so in the game here. Everyone in this community that pays into something has a say-so in the game, and we're all involved in the same game. So this is our chance as a group, as individuals, to take an active part in our future. Thank you again very much, sir.
Any, Dr. Glennan?
For this?
Yes.
Not for this, no.
Wallis?
Yeah.
I just got a couple things I want to say, and Brent, very good presentation. It's the strategic plan is no different than what every household puts into their own house. They try to look into the future of projects they want to get completed around the house and things that they want to strive for over the years. And this is no different. We look at things that we're doing, and we look at ways we can do it better. And we set a 5-year goal of things that we want to accomplish, and to do it within the revenues that we have coming in now. And that's our goal. And I just real quickly, I just want to just touch on this subject with the sewer system. And people have made the comments about, if a house is empty, how is it impacting the sewer system? And a real simple way to put it is, your water and electricity and your gas, the house is receiving a product when those are going into the house. And the O&M, which is the operation and maintenance cost, is built into the price of the purchased goods. Your sewer system is the only utility that you have in a community that is a receiver and not a deliverer. It receives sewage and wastewater. Sewer rates are in place to receive and treat sewage. Whether a house is occupied or empty, the sewage system is operating and collecting sewage and treating it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The sewer system rates are in place to pay for collection, treatment, cleaning and repairing the lines, and expanding the system. So even if a house is empty, the sewage system is still working 24/7. And the rates that we put in place, it's based upon every connection that's hooked up to that system, of paying it every month or every year. Those of you that have lived here for 22 years or things like that have been paying a monthly water bill every single month, you've been paying that sewer fee every single month, 12 months a year, every year that you've lived here. I'm no different. But it was very important that we don't want to see your rates go up, because not everybody's paying into the system. And the system is generating costs, and it's generating maintenance costs and operating costs, whether the house next door to you is putting stuff in it or not. And those costs are being paid for the people that are paying it. This way, the property owners, instead of the renters, will be responsible for paying that sewer rate, just like you've been paying all this time. And it was the only equitable way that we knew to make sure that we were able to collect the money necessary to maintain the system without raising your rates to do it. That's, I hope that explains that well enough on that. So with that, we will, if there's no further discussion on this, we'll move on to entertaining the motion and a second on item A.
I'll second that motion with correction.
Okay, motion was made by Vice President Webb, seconded by Director Spoor with corrections. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I'd like to make one comment now that we've voted. I'd like to thank Lizette, Brad, Tom from Pasatino Anderson for their input in various sections that they were responsible for. Brad for finance, Lizette for administration, and I've got it written down here, personnel and administration and administration, or personnel and organization and administration. And I did the balance of the others. It was a group effort in putting this together, and they should be commended for working hard on it, quickly on it, and to get it done. And we're here, my hat's off to them for their hard work, as well as BHI Consulting, and in particular, Brent. Thank you.
Commercial time that I had an opportunity to be with them. And of course, they're growing like weeds, and any of you who are grandparents, you appreciate that. They live 6 hours away, so I don't often be with them. There was a couple of things that I overheard, and it is concerning, and it does kind of go along with our plan. I heard a comment from on television that the electricity could possibly be going up 40% in the next few years. That'll raise our cost here, that'll raise the cost to every single consumer in the nation, 40%. It's a little frightening. The comments, we're trying our best to keep the costs down and to work within the guidelines. But if somebody walked up to me and said, you guys have this much wiggle room, you don't have that much. We're highly regulated. We are, we have a lot of rules coming down. And I know they make people uncomfortable. But some of these regulations, like Chromium 6, came from Sacramento. And if you don't want those costs incurred here, folks need to talk to Sacramento. We have regulations we have to meet. There are some things coming from Washington, D.C., and it's affecting our pocketbooks, mine, just like everybody else. I'm getting letters that my business costs to me are going up. These costs are going up because of regulations. They start in Washington, D.C. Some of these things have to be resisted by the general public, not just us, but everybody needs to be aware of what's happening. It is getting expensive, and some days it feels like, there's just not enough money to go around. And I have to pay this fee and this license fee in my business. I have to pay this. I have to pay fees that are quality control. I have to pay fees. It's just endless. And so it's regulations, and we're impacted here, that keep demanding money out of our pocket, out of our quote-unquote reserves, whatever it is. So some of these things, the voter needs to be really aware that it's driving our costs up, or what is driving our costs up, and it's these kinds of things. And we need to, as a corporate effort, start writing to our congressman, writing to our assembly person, right now Steve Fox, Kevin McCarthy, whatever, writing to them to hold back some of these regulations or revoke some of the regulations so that it just doesn't keep trickling down to us. And I would just like to make that comment because we are aware in our personal pocketbook, in RCSD pocketbook, my business pocketbook, it's getting very expensive. So I just want to encourage everyone to become active politically, write, find out what's going on. And one of the things that was really interesting, we have a measure that's a water bill measure, I think it's Prop 1A, maybe Prop 1, that talks about water infrastructure being improved in the state of California. And one of the things that they're going to be spending money on or studying money on, I'm not exactly sure, I haven't read it in totally in depth, but one of the things that they're looking into in the state of California is more water banking, is to build less reservoirs but actually put the water in the ground, just like what we're doing. And so we were ahead of the curve on it, but now it's really catching on, and California can see that there's less evaporation, putting it into the ground, and holding it in reserve in that way. So that was encouraging to me to hear, oh, on this national radio broadcast that they're, or state broadcast that they're talking about water banking. So, thank you.
Hey folks, thank you for the input, and always it's appreciated because it helps us grow. Friday is homecoming for the high school football team, and the seniors there, this is their last football game, be it playing or cheerleading or supporting. If you get a chance, go out there and support them. She made mention about the water bond. If you haven't read it, take a chance and read it. It's pretty interesting. I hope and I believe that after that bond's approved, that Rosamond may be that much more of a player in the water banking. If you look at the water banking concept, someone says, well, why aren't we selling the water in the water bank? Well, I look at it more as a savings account versus a checking account to dole out to people. But if you don't understand the water bank concept, real quick, you buy water when there's more water, you put it in the ground. And in our case, we kept buying it and we kept holding on to it. Now, I'm not going to use the word surplus because it's not a surplus. That's Rosamond's water, and we're in pretty good shape. If you look at some of these other communities around here, I'm sure that they wished that they had Santa Barbara. We were at a meeting with Ives a few weeks ago, and they were talking about paying some serious dollar amounts. It makes me really happy when I think about the whole water banking concept because we got it and other people don't. Someone says we'll sell it to them. Then we sell our water, then we got to go buy water at a higher price. I mean, that's not good budgeting. But read it and kind of understand the dynamics of it because I'm hoping after that bond passes, and I want it to pass because California's in trouble. We've been very bad stewards of the water. You shouldn't have homes in the San Fernando Valley in the desert with 3,000 square foot lawns, but we were greedy. Now we're paying for our past sins, but we're in good shape. But read that in this water banking. If you get a chance, call over to the office and have them explain the whole dynamics. The total, we have a 3,700 acre feet, Steve? Or 3,800?
3791.
And that's about a year and a half, right?
Yes.
So some people made comments about the adjudication and all. Regardless of all the adjudication, if they told us tomorrow we couldn't pump any more water for at least a year and a half, we'd still be in good shape, and that's reassuring. That's kind of reassuring as a director that we're in pretty good shape. So I know a lot of times people say they don't understand it. The way you learn more about something, ask more questions and force us to give you more answers, and we'll get there. But don't forget Friday, the homecoming game. Let's support the community in that way that some people said about supporting it. And you talked about the walkers. I don't know what happened to it myself, but if it's something that you want to get started again, I will commit now that you tell me where to be, we'll start walking. I don't know how far we'll get, but if you want to be there, we'll start walking. The bad part about it is the winter now. So, but if you want to be there, because I remember they used to walk, I don't know what happened to it, but that's a simple way to get the community back together. So I'll support you in it if you want to spearhead it, if you need our support in it, whatever we can do to help you push forward with it. If you want to take the lead on it, let's go for it. Thank you guys again for being here.
Well, thank you for coming out. We want to hear what you got to say. We want to try to answer your questions. And, you know, I went to a conference and I got 3 certificates. One of the things they emphasized is our primary focus should be you people, and I believe that. And a lot of things are changing, you know. Public Utilities Commission just held a meeting in Palmdale. On Edison, they're talking about raising, lowering the top tier from 30 to 18% and bringing the bottom tier up to 16. And their reason for doing that, they say the rich is paying too much, and the lower class is not paying enough. So things are tough, and I know that, and I understand that. And we sure want to hear what you got to say. Thank you.
Last week, I was able to attend the Chamber of Commerce meeting, and besides receiving a letter thanking us for our involvement in the September Fest and the parade, they gave a report there, a financial report. $10,600 came in for the September Fest, and our $1,500 was part of that $10,600. But I also got a request, are we going to be involved in the parade of lights put on by the Chamber of Commerce is going to go with the old-time market, the old-time store owners downtown, and going together with this. And I'm going to be submitting that to the Public Affairs Committee to see if it will fit into their budget to help fund that in any way, shape, or form.
I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. Your comments and your voices are very important because it helps me understand where you're coming from, and I like the opportunity to be able to answer your questions and to clarify things up. And I want to encourage everyone to take a moment to read Prop 1. It's a pretty hefty document. But the important thing about it is that this is a good water measure that's actually addressing building more reservoirs and dams, and repairing the infrastructure of our water system statewide. And something that's, and sadly to say, has been ignored far too long. The Delta system up in Northern California has been in need of revamping and overhaul for decades. And so this is going to go a long ways to making our storage system healthy, and to help build up to where, because you know what, we're going to get through this drought. This drought's going to end. But you know what? If you lived here, I've lived here for almost 60 years, we're going to get another one. And there's going to be another one after that. And the whole idea is to, we prepared by having our water bank, where we do have water in there. If we lose everything else, we've got enough to supply this community for a year and a half. So we will have water. But the whole idea is to expand the water bank, put more water in there, build more water banks in everywhere you can. Because now, today is the time to be planning for the next drought that's coming. And it will come. It's not if, but when. And this is what, this Measure 1 is a good way to start getting the state ready to be prepared to face the next drought that hits it, where we're in a much better shape and not worrying about, where the water's going to come from. That we'll have it socked away. So, again, thank you for everyone coming out this evening. And with this, we'll move on to presentations. And Mr. Scott has a presentation.
One of the things I'm involved in a number of education outreach activities as a volunteer. One of the items I do is I chair the Antelope Valley Career Prep Council. And each year, one of the activities that we sponsor and oversee, if you will, is the annual Salute to Youth, which, if you're not aware of it, is a program. It's an event that's held during the week that is a career exhibition day for local Antelope Valley students. We have about 2,000 students that attend from throughout the Antelope Valley, many of them from Kern County. These last few years, we've had 8th graders and mostly 9th grade students attend. The purpose is we invite exhibitors of any type of business, activity, industry, whatever it is, military recruiters from throughout the Antelope Valley, to try and get the students involved, start thinking about future careers, maybe even start thinking about, even in high school, what types of classes they ought to take or something like that. So the RCSD has been very kind the last several years, and again this year, in contributing towards making this event a success. And again, in supporting local students, we had many from Kern County, many from the local area right here. RCSD contributed a number of bottles of water, over 30 cases of water, to help the students when they're there for a good part of the day, and sometimes it's quite warm. They obviously need something to keep them hydrated, and as we well know in the desert. So I have, on behalf of the Antelope Valley Career Prep Council, I have both a letter and a certificate of appreciation, thanking you all very much. We've worked through Steve and Lizette, and even Vienna, one of her staff members, came out early in the morning to help coordinate the transfer of the water, so we thank you all very much.
Okay, item 5, informational items, General Manager.
Thank you. I'd just like to hit a couple things based on a couple of questions and concerns raised. And here are some of the things that we face as a board in the near future. One thing that doesn't come up very often, and that's an adjudicated basin that may occur sometime between now and about mid-year of next year. And that is a reduction in how much water RCSD can pump from the aquifer, from 3,000 acre-feet to 600. Now, when you start looking at that, if we paid for that additional 2,400 acre-feet of water, it would cost us an add, at today's price, about $1.9 million to our budget. We'd have to come up with just to buy the water to serve those we're serving today. Second, the chromium-6 mitigation costs estimated between $10 and $12 million to mitigate, with an additional $150,000 a year just to operate each one of our wells, and there's 3 of them, and that's almost $500,000 just in operational costs added to that figure also. Now, true, we'd probably take the 10 to 12 million and spread it over a long period of time, but nevertheless, it's an impact that we're all going to feel. But then we start looking at the banked water that we have and the value of the banked water, because some people don't understand why we would put water into the ground, why we'd spend the money for that. Well, for 2 things. Because of the drought, in the event that we can't pump any water out of the ground, or we're limited to 600 acre-feet, and AVAC can't produce us any water to make up the deficit, we have the water in the bank. So there's the very important thing, to be ready to serve that water to our ratepayers. The other thing is, if you look at it just in a dollars and cents position, at 3,791 acre-feet cost us about $1.126 million, almost $1.27 million. But the value of that water in the bank today, if sold at today's prices, is $3.791 million, which would be a profit or an asset, the way I look at it, of about 2.6 and change million dollars asset. Now, the water bank and the water bond, one of the big things in the state of California is storage. The water that runs to the ocean and is not captured. The floodwaters, waters that are needed in one place but they can't be shipped there. The Willow Springs Water Bank is a pivotal point in the delivery of water almost anywhere in the state of California. So what we have been doing is trying to maximize the effects of our water bank. And I met with some high-level people last week on Thursday to start that, so we would position ourselves, the Antelope Valley, or the Willow Springs Water Bank, formerly known as the Antelope Valley Water Bank, in a position to receive some of that revenue to increase the capacities and potentially have water year-round in our water bank that, number one, has a capacity of 500,000 acre feet. And with a leave behind of 10%, that's a substantial amount of water left in our aquifer that would not otherwise be there. Help to repair our aquifer, and for the local people that are pumping in the area, the levels that they're pumping water from can be a shorter distance because the water levels will be higher in the aquifer, which equates to monetary savings to them. It's an exciting time to be in a position to have the only storage facility in the state of California that is ready to go, that is through the CEQA process, that is putting water in the water bank currently, to be ready to make a success out of the water bond, or be the first success that the governor and all the others that are pushing the water bond are seeking. Number one, what that would do to us financially, now when you ask, what are we doing to reduce your rates? Maybe we can't reduce them, but we darn sure can do the things to prevent them from going up. And that is what we're trying to do. We don't like them being raised any more than you do. So our efforts are continuing, they're promising, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to bring bacon home. Currently, I'm doing a municipal service review of the agency, an update required every 5 years for the Local Agency Formation Commission, LAFCO, and that will update our review and satisfy us for another 5 years. Anytime that we think that we may have to or want to increase our sphere of influence, we'll have to go through that separately or annex another area. Like the arsenic grant will enter into annexations and the like. And I have visions of annexing the water bank into our sphere and into our charge. Because in the strategic plan, you saw that we were going to try to tie the bank to our system in a well that's free of chromium, free of arsenic. We want to do that. It's going to take a while, and hopefully we can do it on somebody else's dime. So, and that will save money. Speaking of the water bank, we saved 235% of the salaries that the ratepayers would have otherwise paid for in this district by shifting our personnel to costs to the water bank that are paid for by our private partners. That was a huge savings to the district and to the ratepayers. Those are some of a few things that we're doing. We hear you, but we can't move as fast as a lot of people want us to move, but we're making the necessary steps to accomplish what you want accomplished. Oh, a good one. Our new website is just about ready to be unfolded, and you will see a lot more on this website when it is. We're weeks away, maybe sooner. We're going to send a link to all the board members for your review. Please look it over, comment on it before we unfold it. But we have agendas, we have minutes, we have information like you haven't seen on the other. And we're hopeful that it will be a vehicle that you will like and produce your questions to us more often and have more readily available information at your fingertips. Thanks to Passantino Anderson's help in helping us move this along also. And I might add, the things that Pasantino Anderson have done for this agency, when you're in an environment where you can't get information or truthful information distributed quickly so people know what's going on, we have to go to another medium to get more information out. Our reporters do a great job, but they report, they're limited in their space, and we have so much to say. So that's why you get these mailers. This November information sheet, did you pick one up, I hope? Because it does further explain some of the sewer issues, and we're hopeful that this information that we're giving you will start, if it hasn't been done in the past, start information sharing and promote questions from you. Please call me. I will speak to you about your issues and try to explain. And I don't expect you to agree with me. I just want the opportunity to explain what we do and why we are doing it. The Recycle Water Master Plan is complete and is at the state of California as we speak. It is one of the integral documents necessary for the permitting of the recycled water, and we've run into a snag on that because now the agency has changed their rules. So we have to step back and redo. Most of the information is in the plan, but they want it done in a different format now. Again. And now, after being ballistic yesterday on the phone, those that are going to redo it are not going to charge us to redo it, so we won't incur any additional cost. I hate to say it, but the recycled water is probably, and they told me yesterday, we're looking at June.
Oh, June?
June. So.
I hope that would answer that question on why we aren't selling recycled water.
This gentleman's frustrated. You don't realize how frustrated I am because
I think you must be, but the truth of the matter is, though, I'd love to use recycled water in my front lawn. Yeah. And if I have to buy a trailer with a tank on it, I'll probably go and siphon out of one of your pools. I like a green lawn.
Well, I know I'm the same way. And I got a dead one right now, in fact.
Steve, question for you.
Yes, sir.
Before we get past that. You said,
Worked the government before, I know how frustrating it can be.
you said that they changed the way they wanted to submit it. Did they give us a reason why they wanted it changed?
They redid their guidelines. It wasn't so much Lahontan itself. It was the state redid the guidelines, pushed them down to Lahontan. Lahontan had to send them us.
So they wouldn't grandfather us in because they got our big.
I asked that question. We were in the pipeline. We've been in it for over a year and a half.
Yeah.
And nope, we have to redo it. Well, before we get it into our community, it's going to be potable again.
Yeah. I guess. Before we move on too much farther, I did get several comments from ratepayers. They love this. They love this. Okay, just so you know. And so then the question is, we have to encourage everybody to read it because it was really good information.
We do this on a monthly, we will be doing it on monthly issues in collaboration with Pasantino Anderson, in particular with Tom Llewellyn, sitting here and discuss how to get the information out or what information we need to get out. So please, when you get it in your bill, don't throw it away. It has some good information. I know how difficult it is to read all the stuff you get in the mail, but if you're really concerned about what's going on, we're trying to get that information out. And it might prompt some questions that you might want to give me a call on.
Steve, question. Putting that off, is that so that maybe the new rules they have, you recycle water with the new bond, can they be all lined up?
Actually, I think what it is the California Department of Public Health was absorbed by the Department of Water Resources. And now that they've come together, everybody's changing how they do particular items. And we're the fodder or the collateral damage, if you will, because of that. One last one, the arsenic grant update. Engineering has been basically completed, but we were extended in the arsenic grant engineering feasibility because of the chromium-6 issue. We were successful, instead of doing it on our dime, another savings, to get the state to pay for the engineering feasibility portion of the chromium-6 issue. They've extended our timeline to next June also, and they're going to pay for a test well, so we'll know when we drill the well whether it's got arsenic and chromium or not. We've tried to do our background and our due diligence to locate the bands where arsenic and chromium were non-existent. So we have a couple sites located for the test well, and if the test well comes back positive, and that's an expensive endeavor for a test well.
Do you have an idea about how much that?
About $87,000.
So at least we don't have to pay for that.
Right. And about $87,000 for the test well, and we have to fill the test well in once we do it, then drill a new well, and that costs anywhere from $500,000 to $1.5 million.
Yeah, 1.5 million.
Yep. So with that, all of the folks that might be involved with the adjudication that need information, if you're going to be around, I'd like to speak to those folks that might be involved, that might be in the audience afterwards, if we have just a moment, and explain for their sake where we're at. So that's the end of my report.
I'd like to just
Mr.
toss in
Perez,
here.
excuse me, I have a question. You threw at the beginning some numbers to us, and probably I don't know much about this, but I would like to know where those numbers, were they, I mean, who put together those numbers? What they are based on? I mean, who come up with those numbers?
The savings?
All the numbers about the costing, how much we have to pay for this, how much will be the cost for whatever else.
You were
All
talking
those
about the
numbers
chromium
that
numbers? Were you talking
Yeah,
about the chromium?
everything that he told us at the beginning. So we come up with those numbers, what they're based on, and can we have a copy, or can we, because you know you're telling us, but we kind of, at least me, I just grab a little bit and then the rest is gone when you mention other things. So I would like to have it in paper. Is that a way that
Sure,
we can have it in paper?
I can give you those, and basically the asset I talked about was what we paid for the water versus how much water we have and what the cost of water is today. That's why I said if we took what we paid for it versus what it costs today and multiply that, that gives that big number. So you subtract the cost from the value, and that gives you a profit as an asset. If we sold it all, we could make a very large amount of money. But it's there for the needs of the community first. Second,
Okay, hold on, because you mentioned we trying not to increase the cost of water. You said that.
Right.
That we could if we have to pay for water, buy more water from other places. So that we could, I don't really like, because we're trying to, as you guys said, to keep it that way as much as possible.
Right.
But then that we could, that just give me a little bit of
Concern.
yeah, that concern, because I'm listening millions of dollars here, dwelling over there, buying here, doing this, doing that. And believe me, all that, it's money. I understand that, it's money. It's nothing gonna give you nothing for free. But then the money has to come from somewhere, and it will come from Rosamond community. And that's my concern right there.
well, those costs will be analyzed should we jump into that arena anytime soon. In the adjudication, when it is enacted, it's proposed that next May, they say, okay, it's done. From that point on, we have 2 years to pump from the aquifer, just like we're doing. Then, the 3rd year, we take a 20% reduction. 4th year, 20% more. So that's a 40% reduction. Then a 60, 80 to 100% reduction, down to the 600. In that time, when it's done, we will have done a lot of different things to try to build up our water supply. Because once it's done, folks are going to know how much water they're entitled to pump. Some people are going to want to sell their water right. We'll probably want to buy it at a lesser price. So we'll be negotiating for other water rights to try to mitigate or reduce that cost. We'll be doing that. But certainly we'll be talking to you, the community, and letting you know what we're doing. Now, there are some things that we can talk about in open session, some things we can't. The litigation portion of all of this, we can't talk about because it's in litigation. But I can give you some of these particulars like I have without divulging any of the legal aspects of what we're faced with. Tomorrow, if you'll come in, I will prepare a document for you that gives you an explanation of the numbers I told you and where they're coming from. The chromium-6, there is a calculator that the state sent out and said, okay, use this type of process, put in all your water quality data, you have to input all this technical data in it, and then push the button and it tells you how much it's going to cost and how much the O&M cost or the operation and maintenance costs are. So when I said 10 million, my calculations say 10 million based on their calculator. But I know that when we get out there and start piping something, it's going to go up. So that's why I said between 10 and 12 million. That's how I come up with the numbers. I'm not pulling them out of the sky, number one, but I'll give you an explanation document if you'd like to come in and get that. Or if you call me tomorrow and tell me when you can get there so I can have it prepared for you before. Where am I going to be tomorrow? Oh, I've got to leave for a meeting on the arsenic grant tomorrow by 11 from here. I have to go to Bakersfield. So if you'll call me before, and sometime before 11, come in. I'll try to get on it first thing when I get here in the morning.
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to make a comment. Obviously, what you're hearing is that the water and recycled water are highly regulated entities. And those regulations come down from the state and federal government. And they want certain requirements met. So in order for us to get any relief from those regulations, it has to come from that body again, from consumers getting those laws changed. But America has one of the finest water systems in the world, and we're very, the nation's very proud of our drinking water systems. Steve, I wanted to change gears here a little bit. We've heard a lot of things in the news about potential quarantines of people and individuals for whatever reason. And always, because we have vital health services here, that the communications between anybody in law enforcement that would be enforcing any kind of quarantine in the future, as far-fetched as that may sound, that we have that communication so that our staff and our business can keep going on, that the vital service of water and sewer continue, and that the people, our important employees, aren't kept in their houses. They can actually go out and make sure the water's flowing and that business is taken care of. So I just wanted to bring that up to the front because it's a huge concern And, you know, in a blanket, these people are restricted, you know, that we're exempt from that. Just to keep reminding people that we have a vital service to provide.
As a deputy for 26 years, and Rick can attest to this, as a policeman for 32, communications is the #1 thing in a disaster, and you're right on point. And we'll take that to heart and address that. I'd like to say one other thing about the water bank. If we start putting water in it like we hope to, not only will it benefit us in the aquifer and benefit the water bank, but it will bring direct revenues to the RCSD. Because we're a partner in the water bank, we will receive revenues from the water. The sooner our big partner is paid off, the better, because we'll start receiving larger amounts of revenue from that. So we're hopeful that there is a big positive spin at people wanting to bank water in this water bank. And not just small agencies, but we're talking about agencies like the state of California. So when instead of spilling water out of several of the reservoirs that we know of today, they send it to the Willow Springs Water Bank for storage, because we can move water anywhere in the state. So we're hopeful.
Any other questions for the general manager? Okay, move on to item 2, update on public works projects. Do we have anything on that, Steve?
Oh, yes, I do. Service line repairs. They repaired 6 angle stops, hung 198 letters, 39 lock-offs, continued to install master meters, red meters for the billing, and addressed 192 work orders. Made all necessary hookups to the Antelope Valley East Kern water system, and I didn't report on that, but they hooked up and pumped, as of yesterday, we're pumping water to Rosamond from the water bank. We are hooked up, so if we need our water, we can get it here. And it was running. It'll take 66 days to pump all the water that we're sending to Rosamond from there. And it's a small amount in my eyes, but a large amount in the whole scheme of things. That's 200 acre-feet that we're pumping, but it'll be going for 66 days.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Did you come to the end of the report? Oh, okay. I had a customer ask me something, and I wasn't aware of this, but she was talking in the area of Dixie on the sewer lines. And this could all be, I don't know, I'm just going to repeat what she said, that there seems to be roaches coming out of the sewer system, and they were wondering if something could be done. Could they be flushed out? Could they be killed? Whatever. They just seem to think that there's an infestation of roaches in that section of the sewer lines.
I'm going to turn to Greg for a comment on that. He has more expertise, and John's not here.
Okay. Okay. Just gonna.
Is that
it's
foible or
roaches in the sewer system is not anything uncommon.
No.
They occur wherever they're going to find their little munchies to eat on, and they like the warm, dark place that a sewer provides. There are very good, environmentally safe systems to it. Basically what they do is that they will put in a foam spray into the manholes, and it'll simply coat the manhole shaft, it'll go down the sewer line, it'll kill the cockroaches, and it'll continue to kill them for a period of time. And that's part of maintaining the system. You know, the roaches are going to pop up wherever they pop up, and you're going to have to go in and treat it. And it's going to be when you see them, you treat the system. But once it's treated, it will last for a while. Depending upon how bad it is, they may have to come back and treat it again. But the chemicals that they use will not harm the treatment plant. will not kill the biological organisms that are necessary to the sewage treatment process. So, Steve, I'll get you some information on some contacts, and it's just something that you deal with, and so when they do the sewer inspections and they do find those areas, it's just a matter of just addressing and taking care of it.
Well, then I recommend they inspect Dixie, because people seem to think there was a lot of them there. So.
You give me the information, I'll pass it on to John, and we'll see what we can get done.
I just thought of something, I've never heard the word roach come up in Louisville. In 23 years I've lived up there. I've never heard.
I know, it was a surprise.
I mean, I've never, that's the first time, I've never, I don't wanna sound naive about it, but I've never heard anything about it. That's new.
I think there's been an infestation. I know Lancaster, Palmdale, folks were talking about having a problem there too.
Well, you know, down in the Antelope Valley sewer system, in Santa Clarita Valley as well, you know, I wish I could say you know where they're gonna pop up, but you don't. It's just during the routine line checking and inspection of the sewer system, which basically just crews going out there, popping manhole covers, checking the flows, things like this. Oh, okay, we got roaches. All right, get in there, spray it, done, and then you move on. And you know, you could have it in one manhole, and then the next manhole down, there's nothing. And then
we got grasshoppers. We got grasshoppers going out here. Lots of grasshoppers.
We're in a drought, you know.
Sorry for grossing the people out, but it's not an issue, and it's not something to be concerned with, and it's something that can easily be controlled. Okay, item 3, legal counsel, legal updates.
Gonna have a real update, but a couple of quick comments about the majority of our meeting this evening. First, my mom used to tell me that I've got it right on my desk, that a man without a plan is like a ship without a compass. That goes for every successful business, every government agency. As far as long-range strategic planning goes, the state, the Fed, the county, they all look and expect you to have a strategic plan. And when it comes to financing, like bonds, bonding companies and things, they like to see if you have a strategic plan. And so it's a thing you do that creates a guide, and that's what it really is. It's a guide, and it's better for you because, and this is the legal part, it's done in the public, and it's in the sunshine, as they say. It's not hidden. You can see where they're going, what they're supposed to be doing. You can track them. So that's what long-range strategic planning is really all about. It's something we as citizens want more than even the agencies themselves, because many of them would like to not do that and run their business the way they want to, secretly. And that's not the way it is when you're a government agency. And the one comment about the sewer tax, in the law, sewer is a system, and it is an improvement to property that increases the value of that property. And that's why everybody wants sewer. And so, unlike, as our director indicated, water, which is really a product that you get, or electricity, which is providing you with a product. This is a system to sweep, discharge, and keep everything as sanitary and clean and functioning as possible. That's why it's appropriate to put sewage in conjunction with property.
Not paying on my property taxes, I refuse. And if they want to leave my property, they can have at it, because it's wrong. It was wrong.
I'm just trying to help you understand.
It's wrong now.
I was just trying to help you understand with some examples.
No, I understand very well. I know the difference between right and wrong. I've known it for years. That was underhanded and sneaky. You send me a bill, I'll pay it.
That's all I've got.
Okay. Any questions of our attorney? Okay, item 7, consent calendar.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Director Spoor, seconded by Vice President Webb. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 8, closed session. Are we going into closed session, Steve? Okay, on both of them?
Yes.
Okay. Item A, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9A, Antelope Valley groundwater cases, Diamond Farming Company versus City of Lancaster, Kern County case number 240090 AEW, and item B, potential litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9B, exposure of litigation in one matter. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So,
Second.
Motion made by Director Spoor, seconded by Director Wallis. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned to closed session at 7:55.